Okay, so 90 Day Fiancé. Season 12 fans have been obsessed with Marissa Rubinetti, and rightfully so. She's an executive at Kleinfeld Bridal, the store you've seen 1,000 times on Say Yes to the Dress. She lives in a huge suburban Pennsylvania home. She has a wealthy family, and she's brought a hotel concierge from the Dominican Republic to America to marry her. That's the story TLC is telling. But here's what most viewers don't know. While season 12 has been airing, Marissa's entire life has been dramatically changing behind the scenes. She's not the Kleinfeld executive anymore. She hasn't been since late 2025. In fact, by the time you're watching this episode of the show, Marissa has already. The show is airing months behind her real life. And when you understand her full backstory, including the fact that her mother was a single mom who struggled for years, not the wealthy socialite people assume, the whole narrative about Marissa becomes something completely different. This is her real story, and it's way more interesting than what TLC is showing you. Let's start with something the show glosses over, because if you're watching 90 Day Fiancé, you probably think Marissa is from generational wealth. Bluebell Mansion, family in the bridal industry, Kleinfeld executive job. Sounds like old money, right? Wrong, or at least not the full picture. In an interview, Marissa herself said something really important about her upbringing. She said, and I'm quoting her directly, "My mom was a single mom, and we struggled throughout our lives." That's a completely different narrative than upper-crust socialite family. Her mother Joanne was raising her alone, dealing with financial struggle, before eventually meeting Bob Huth, the man who would later become Marissa's stepfather and the CEO of David's Bridal. So, Marissa wasn't born into the bridal industry. She was born to a single mother who was fighting to make ends meet. The wealth came later through Joanne's marriage to Bob Huth. And even more importantly, Marissa's career at David's Bridal that later took her to Kleinfeld, that came through the connection her family gained after her mom's remarriage. This is a self-made success story wrapped inside what looks like an inheritance story. Marissa's mother went from struggling single parent to being married to a top executive in one of America's biggest bridal retailers. And Marissa herself climbed the corporate ladder from an entry-level position all the way to running major operations. Her father is a different story. Frank Rubinetti was her biological father, and he passed away in late 2024. He was, according to fans in 90 Day Fiancé forums, apparently a well-known figure in the Bluebell area. So, there was some level of comfort and community from that side of her family too. But the point is, Marissa's whole life hasn't been wealth. There's a significant chapter of struggle in her backstory that shapes how she sees the world, how she raises her kids, and probably how she's approaching this relationship with Edward. Bob Huth was the former CEO of David's Bridal. David's Bridal is the largest bridal retailer in the United States. We're talking about a company with hundreds of physical stores across the country, thousands of employees, and revenue that has historically been in the hundreds of millions to over $1 billion. And when he married Joanne, that connection changed everything for the family. Suddenly, Marissa's mom went from struggling single parent to the wife of a bridal industry CEO. That transition brings a lot of things with it: financial security, industry connections, access to a whole new social circle, and career opportunities that wouldn't have been available before. Now, here's the thing. Some viewers assume that Marissa just got handed her career because of her stepdad. And sure, being connected to the CEO of David's Bridal probably didn't hurt when she was starting out, but she still had to actually do the work. She still had to prove herself. And she stayed with the same company for nearly 2 decades, which nobody does just because of family connections. You have to earn that longevity. There's also something worth noting about Bob Huth's influence. On the show, when Marissa's parents finally show up on camera in episode 7, viewers see immediately that this isn't just any wealthy suburban family. This is a family with real power in a real industry. That's why the skepticism about Edward hits so hard. It's not just personal, it's professional too. Anyone marrying into this family enters an ecosystem where reputation matters. Marissa's actual career path is genuinely impressive. Let me walk you through it because most 90 Day Fiancé viewers don't realize just how much she accomplished. She graduated from Fordham University in 2001 with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Management. Fordham is a Jesuit university in New York, solid academic institution, not a party school. Just 2 months after graduation, she started at David's Bridal. And here's what she did not do. She didn't come in as an executive. She came in as a merchandising assistant. That's an entry-level position. That's where you learn the ropes. That's where you prove you can handle the work. From there, she climbed, slowly, over years. She became a senior buyer, managing purchasing for entire product categories. She became divisional merchandise manager for the dress division. She oversaw special occasion departments like prom dresses and mother of the bride collections. She handled major buying decisions that affected the entire company. By the time she left David's Bridal in August 2020, she'd been at the company for approximately 19 years. That's a full career at a single place. That's not the timeline of someone coasting on family connections. That's the timeline of someone who committed to a career and grew through it. She also holds a professional record of speaking at industry events, being featured in trade publications, and consulting on merchandising strategy. Her expertise is real. Her achievements are real. So, when 90 Day Fiancé shows her being demanding or particular about how things should be done at home, that's not just personality. That's decades of professional discipline showing up in her personal life. She's someone who has succeeded through structure and standards, and she brings that same energy to everything else. In January 2021, Marissa made a big move. She left David's Bridal after 19 years and joined Kleinfeld Bridal. If you don't know Kleinfeld by name, you know it by sight. Kleinfeld Bridal in Manhattan is the physical store featured on TLC's Say Yes to the Dress. It's arguably the most famous bridal shop in the entire world. Brides from all over the country, and honestly from other countries, fly in specifically to shop there. It's a bucket list wedding experience. Marissa joined Kleinfeld as Vice President of Merchandising. That was her starting position. But within 4 months, she was promoted to Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. That's an incredibly fast promotion. 4 months from VP to EVP/COO tells you something about how much Kleinfeld valued what she brought. She wasn't a warm body they had promoted for tenure. She was making real impact quickly. And here's the cool part. She actually appeared on Say Yes to the Dress because of her Kleinfeld role. She had brief cameos on the show over the years. Randy Finoli, one of the main Say Yes to the Dress consultants, even posted a photo of her on his Instagram in 2025 with the caption about her appearing on the show. So, when Marissa shows up on 90 Day Fiancé as a bride trying on wedding dresses, it's this whole ironic full circle moment. She's spent decades selling wedding dresses to other people. Now, she's the one trying them on. For those years at Kleinfeld, Marissa was operating at the top of the American wedding retail world. She had authority, respect, and a level of influence in the bridal industry that maybe 100 other people in America could match, which makes what she did next even more surprising. All right, let's rewind and talk about Marissa's personal life, because you can't understand her decision with Edward without understanding what came before. In 2012, Marissa married a man named Michael Sanders. They had 2 sons together, Cole and Derek. Both boys are currently in middle school. Her first marriage lasted about 6 years. By 2018, she and Michael were divorced. Marissa hasn't gone into deep public detail about what specifically went wrong, but she has hinted that those years were difficult for her. And whatever happened, it was significant enough that she came out of the divorce with a strong resolve about her future. After the divorce, Marissa dated. She had relationships. But she maintained a certain distance from anything too serious. She focused on her sons. She focused on her career, which was accelerating during this same period. And she built a life as an independent single mother who had her own income, her own home, and her own achievements to be proud of. That's who Marissa was for those years, between 2018 and when Edward came into her life. A successful career woman, a mother of 2, someone who had been through a difficult marriage and come out the other side, determined to protect her sons and her stability. But the point is, Marissa's decision to bring Edward to America wasn't made in a vacuum. It was made against the backdrop of an existing family situation, ongoing co-parenting responsibilities, and a family that had seen her go through a difficult divorce already. So, how does a successful executive from Pennsylvania end up engaged to a hotel concierge from the Dominican Republic? The story starts with a girls' trip. At some point after her divorce, Marissa took a vacation to Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. And at one of these resorts, Marissa met Edward Miguel Gomez. Edward isn't just any resort worker. His actual job title is hotel concierge, and he worked in what's called hotel entertainment. So he was helping guests, coordinating experiences, and interacting with visitors as a professional part of his job. He's from San Francisco de Macorís in the Dominican Republic, which is a real city inland from the coast, not just a resort town. Something clicked between them during that first meeting. They exchanged that information, and even though they went their separate ways after the trip ended, they stayed in touch. Over the next couple of years, Marissa and Edward maintained a long-distance connection. She went back to visit. He came into the picture of her life. What started as a vacation encounter turned into something more serious. Now, here's what's worth understanding about vacation romances that become real relationships. All-inclusive resorts create a very specific kind of environment. You're on vacation, which means you're at your most relaxed, you're most open, you're most willing to try new things. And when you meet someone who's part of the resort environment, someone whose job involves being warm, welcoming, and engaging, there's an immediate positive impression that's hard to fully separate from the vacation vibe. Some vacation connections don't survive the return to real life. Others turn into something meaningful. In Marissa and Edward's case, it turned into a real relationship that eventually led to an engagement. For a period of time before season 12 filmed, Marissa and Edward were maintaining a long-distance relationship between Pennsylvania and the Dominican Republic. That's not easy under any circumstances, but their situation had extra complications. Marissa was flying between countries to see him. Edward was maintaining his job and his life in the Dominican Republic. They were building a relationship across borders while everything about their day-to-day lives was different. At some point in this long-distance phase, Marissa made the decision that would put her on 90-day Fiancé. She decided she wanted Edward to come to America. She wanted to make this permanent, and she decided to pursue the K-1 Fiancé visa process to make it happen. She's talked publicly about the internal conflict she felt. In one promotional clip for the show, she said something like, "I don't know if I want to give this single independent woman part of me up, but I love Edward so much that I want to take this leap of faith for us." That's a really honest statement. She's not blindly in love. She's someone who has consciously built independence and knows what she'd be giving up, but she chose Edward anyway. Whether that ends up being the right choice, we're all still watching to find out. The K-1 visa is specifically for the foreign fiancé of a U.S. citizen. To apply for it, the American citizen has to demonstrate, once approved, the foreign partner gets 90 days on American soil. In that window, they must get married. If they don't marry within 90 days, the visa expires and the fiancé has to leave the country. That's not a casual visa. That's a formal, legally binding commitment made to the U.S. federal government. There's paperwork, there are interviews, there are financial disclosures, there are background checks on both parties. The whole process typically takes 6 to 12 months just to get approved. Marissa went through all of that. She filled out the forms, she provided the financial documentation, she sponsored Edward's entry into the country, and when he arrived in America, the 90-day clock started ticking. For someone in Marissa's position, an established executive with 2 kids and significant assets, this is a big legal responsibility. If she sponsored Edward for a K-1 visa, she's on the hook for various financial obligations related to his presence in America. If things go badly, that has legal implications for her too, not just for him. So, this wasn't a casual romantic gesture. This was a formal, adult decision to take on legal responsibility for another person's presence in this country. And she did it after saying openly that she wasn't sure she wanted to give up her independence. That's the kind of decision you make when you believe in something, or the kind of decision you deeply regret later. We'll see which one this turns out to be. When Edward arrived in Pennsylvania, the culture shock was immediate and visible. This is a man from San Francisco de Macorís in the Dominican Republic who was suddenly walking into a large suburban American home in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. Different weather, different food, different customs, different language of daily expectations. In episode 5, when Edward first saw Marissa's house, his reaction was essentially awe. This wasn't the kind of house he was used to. And then, almost immediately, Marissa established rules. Take shoes off at the door, because that's how she runs her home. Little things became sources of friction. How much time Edward spent on his phone, whether he was being productive during the day, how he handled household expectations. Some viewers watch these scenes and see Marissa as controlling, someone who's trying to shape Edward into a version of a partner that fits her polished, high-achieving life. She's demanding, she has standards, she wants things done a certain way. Other viewers watch and see reasonable adjustment expectations. She's brought someone into her home, she's the primary earner, she has kids whose environment she's protecting. Of course she has structure. Both perspectives have truth to them. And the show absolutely leans into that tension because it makes for good television. But there's a class dynamic underneath everything. Marissa didn't just bring Edward to America. She brought him into a specific American professional class environment. That environment has rules, expectations, and standards that aren't universal. They're culturally specific, and he's expected to adapt to them fast, without much context about why they matter or where they came from. That's a lot to ask of anyone. The internal conflict with Edward is only part of the story. Marissa is also dealing with pushback from her family and her ex-husband. Her mother, Joanne, has been openly cautious about the relationship. As a mother who watched her daughter go through one difficult marriage already, she has real concerns about seeing it happen again, especially with someone who has significantly less financial and social footing than Marissa does. Bob Huth, Marissa's stepfather, brings his industry expertise to the concerns. He's spent his career in wedding retail. He's seen countless relationships. He knows what long-term compatibility looks like versus what quick romantic decisions look like. And then there's Michael Sanders, Marissa's ex-husband. He's the biological father of Cole and Derek, so he's very much still in the picture as a co-parent. And he has been vocal about his skepticism regarding Edward. Is Edward here for the right reasons? Or is this about American citizenship? Those are legitimate questions to ask in K-1 visa situations, even if they're uncomfortable. But there's also something more complicated happening. Michael himself struggled being married into Marissa's world. He's acknowledged that he felt out of his depth trying to keep up with her family's expectations. And now, he's watching another man walk into that same environment with even fewer advantages than Michael had. So, is Michael being protective of his ex-wife? Or is he warning Edward based on his own painful experience? Or both? Fans are divided, and Marissa has said publicly that reality TV has a way of making normal relationship struggles look much more dramatic than they actually are. That's a fair defense. Every couple deals with family tension, arguments about lifestyle, and adjustment issues. But when it's happening on television with millions of viewers picking sides, every fight gets amplified. Okay, here's the part of Marissa's story that most 90 Day Fiancé viewers don't know yet. Because the show is airing months after filming, there have been major developments in Marissa's real life that haven't shown up on TV yet. In November 2025, after filming had wrapped, Marissa left Kleinfeld Bridal entirely. She stepped down from her role as EVP and COO. After nearly 5 years at Kleinfeld, and almost 25 years total in the bridal industry, she walked away. Then, in March 2026, she launched her own consulting firm called The Ruby Standard. According to her own description, it focuses on helping service-led retail organizations unlock performance through structure, accountability, and culture. Basically, she became a business consultant using all her retail expertise. Then, in June 2026, she made an even bigger pivot. She became the owner of 2 Barre 3 fitness studios, one in Bluebell and one in Rosemont, Pennsylvania. So, while 90 Day Fiancé viewers are watching Marissa navigate her relationship with Edward as the polished Kleinfeld executive, in real life, she's already transitioned into a completely different career chapter. She's a business owner, a consultant, a fitness studio proprietor. She's running her own operations. What does this mean for her relationship with Edward? We don't fully know yet. TLC hasn't shown these developments on the show. Are these career pivots things she and Edward decided together? Are they signs of stability in their relationship, or signs of stress? Are they opportunities Edward is part of, or things she's doing independently? We'll have to wait for future seasons or interviews to find out. But knowing that Marissa has already fundamentally reinvented her career while the show is still airing tells you something about who she is. She's not sitting around waiting for TLC's storyline to resolve. She's building her next chapter, regardless of how the on-screen drama plays out. So, where does this leave Marissa and Edward's story? Nobody fully knows. TLC is keeping the finale under wraps. Both Marissa and Edward are still active on social media, as of recent updates, which suggests they've made it through at least some of the challenges we've been watching. But here's what makes Marissa's story so compelling. She's not a typical 90-Day Fiancé cast member. She's not someone in a desperate financial situation. She's not someone who fell for the first person who paid her attention. She's a highly successful woman who came from a single-mother household, built a major career, achieved executive status in her industry, went through a difficult divorce, and then chose to take a major risk for a man she met on vacation. She could have played it safe. She could have stayed at Kleinfeld. She could have never sponsored Edward's visa. But she didn't. She took the leap. And now she's not just navigating a new relationship. She's navigating a whole new life direction. Whether Edward ends up being part of that new life long-term or not, Marissa is clearly writing her own story on her own terms. That deserves some respect, even if you're skeptical about the specific choices. If you want more 90-Day Fiancé Season 12 deep dives that go beyond just recapping episodes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got more couples to break down as the season plays out. Drop a comment below. Do you think Marissa and Edward are going to make it? And what do you think about her career pivot to Bar 3 fitness studios? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. See you next time.